It's called It's Not the Ref, part of the Four Fans Talk Sports. We are minus one of the four fans tonight. Roland can't be with us due to technical difficulties, which we're going to get resolved. You hear us out there in Windsor, Cogeco, resolve the internet issues. But we do have Clark out in Detroit, Michigan, and we have Brian up in Barrie, Ontario, and we're here to talk. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing well.
Right on. So a whole bunch of sports stories are going on or have been going on. Want to revisit the Super Bowl. We all made some predictions. The Rams and the Bengals battled it out on the field there. And as we know, Rams 23, Bengals 20. I had went for the Bengals. I was not really my team, but I was cheering on the Bengals. Roland was also cheering on the Bengals, but Brian and Clark, you guys were cheering on the Rams. And they won. The Rams are our Super Bowl champions. What do you guys think?
I don't know if I'd say I was cheering on the Rams. I was cheering for Matt Stafford to finally win something.
You know, he suffered with the Lions along with the rest of us here in Michigan. And so it's good to see him win something and maybe prove that he really was carrying the Lions for so long. And he had some haters here, and I think they can't really talk anymore.
You know what I wanted to see? I wanted to see him like rip the jersey off and expose a lion underneath, like just, you know. And
he had no way. No, he had no reason to do that. He doesn't owe the Lions anything anymore.
But it would have gone with the halftime show. It would have gone. Like, I mean, like, you know, the throwback in Detroit and Eminem, and I don't know. And Cooper Kupp.
The halftime show was the best part in my mind, but.
Was it really? I don't know.
That was a classic halftime show.
Absolutely.
It was a good game, though. It was a good game, wasn't it?
You know what?
It was a fine game.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good game for almost 3 quarters and 13 minutes.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. What? And then what happened?
The refs showed up. The refs. You know what? It was such a smooth sailing game. Couple of questionable, you know, little things here and there, but then the flag started. It was like the Rams are down. The Rams are down, and all of a sudden the flags start coming out, and you just knew.
So I got a question for you. I got a question for you, Guido.
Yeah.
There's instant replay. Did you not agree that there was a hold on the call where he made the call? Are you saying it wasn't a hold, or are you saying that he should have been making calls all throughout the game? I want to know, what's your take on it?
I guess my thing is always consistency, right? There were things going on throughout the game where you could have made some similar calls and they didn't. And then at the end of it, you make the call. You make the call when the game is on the line like that. And it just felt like I don't think, listen, here's the thing. I don't think the refs were in on it. But it just came across so bad right at the end of the game to see those flags. It's like, why now? Why not throughout the game? Why now?
I have a theory on that. And it's not only in football, it's in other things too. And it's sometimes a ref in a big game like that will let little things go. And so as fans are seeing little things go, and then when it gets down to the crunch, guys start doing something that's a little more obvious. And so then the fans get pissed off when they make the call. So I'm not on the refs on this one at all. I think they let the game go pretty good. There was one they missed, and that was the face mask on the, and everyone can see it on instant replay. The face mask that was against the Rams, like the guy from the Rams would have caught it and he got face masked. They missed that, but they were letting a lot go. But when it comes down to the crunch and you hold a guy, and when you looked at the replay, he was holding him. He had his hand on the jersey and was holding him back. That's a call. You got to make it.
He did. But that happened earlier in the game in some plays too. So
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing for me. I don't have a football. I don't cheer any particular football team on. So I just really enjoyed the game, and I almost enjoyed the whole game, except for the ending, I guess. And I think there's people out there who feel that way.
Coincidentally, a lot of them were pulling for Cincinnati. So is it, I mean, can you say it's not partisan bias involved there? That you're looking at it and say, oh yeah, missing a call when it benefits one team is okay, but not when it's benefiting the other. Even
Maybe.
if Cincinnati isn't your team, so to speak, they're the team you'd say you were rooting for in that game. So can you?
Well,
rule it
they were the
out?
team that I said if Kansas City or the Bengals went, I wanted to see the Bengals win because they had never won anything, right? And I just thought, hey, cool, man, it'd be nice to see. But I don't care. I mean, LA won. That's great. Stafford. The other story was Stafford. Like, yeah, hey, I'm glad Stafford finally, got something after all this time and the whole Detroit thing. So it's just an observation that, I always talk about the refs and consistency. It happened in the Super Bowl. It was probably one of the best Super Bowl games in terms of, hey, it went back and forth. It was close. It was entertaining. Nobody lost any articles of clothing during the halftime show. Like everything just kind of flowed except for those last couple of minutes. And to the casual fan who might have been watching, and there might be they might think, oh, that was a weird way to end the whole thing after that game. But anyways, is what it is. You guys called the Rams took it. So
I have one lingering question though. I want to know how long 50 Cent was hanging upside down for that halftime show before he started singing.
Or something was holding him up. All right, so football, and Clark, it always comes back to hockey. Let's go to hockey.
Oh, always. Let's do hockey.
So
let's do that hockey.
on February 21st, the Leafs and the Habs played for the second time this season. Hard to believe we're in February and it's only the second meeting between them, I think. And the last place Montreal Canadiens handed it to the Stanley Cup projected playoff Toronto Maple Leafs. And I mean, the Leafs look bad. They look really, they looked as bad as I thought they were at the beginning of the season when things were kind of derailing. And the Habs looked almost as good as their playoff run. And I had to do like a double check. I was like, am I watching a tape here or something? But Cole Caulfield is totally unlocked with Martin St. Louis. And it was just like a game where I was thinking to myself, well, we know the Montreal Canadiens aren't going to do that every game here in and out, as they're making trades and things like that. But the Leafs look bad. Mrazek looked bad. Muzzin, he got hurt, and I think he's in concussion protocol for a couple of games now to see what happens with him. But what was interesting, and I'm going to mention the refs. The Habs were winning. I get it. But the refs were like, there was one call. There was a too many men on the ice call that didn't happen. And it was so blatant. Like, you look at the wide angle view of it and all the players have their hands up. Sheldon Keefe's like, oh my God, don't call that. He's kind of looking away. The refs are right there looking at it. The puck hits the guy. Austin Matthews in the middle of the ice. No call. So, and Brian, you and I went back and forth on this, right? Because I said, hey, if it really matters, I guess, but if it's, a call that gets missed because the ref doesn't, but he's staring at it. There's two of them. There's two refs, so we don't miss stuff like this. He's staring at it. Is there some favoritism with the Leafs?
No, I don't think so. I think what you get is you get a ref that calls a whole game. And I've refed, so I can speak from experience. You kind of ref the whole game, and you may have missed something else, so you may give a break. And we talked a few episodes back about the guy that got caught on the hot mic. What you have to look at is the ref's whole body of work for the whole game and not just the one call. So he might have missed something else, and he's evening it up. To you as the casual onlooker, or as the Habs fan seeing a missed call that you thought should have gone your team's way, you get all excited about it. Me, I don't, because I look at a ref calling the whole game, not just one play.
You're talking about it because you've refed too, right? Like you got some.
Yeah, I have. Experience. Yeah. So I'm speaking from a bit of experience too, and that's what you do as a ref. That's why I say it's a bad look for always getting on the refs, because if you know how a ref operates, you're looking at the whole game. You're not just looking at every single play. So if you're looking at consistency also means I missed one here, so I'm going to miss another one over there. That's consistent.
But not on purpose. Not on purpose. You can't. The whole evening things out is like old school, like that. I can't say, well,
that's still school. The fact that the guy got caught in the mic and he got called out, that's why he got called out. They're still roughing like that, and they will into the future. I guarantee it, Guido. That's why I give you a hard time for always carping on the refs.
I'm never going to stop. I want consistency. Clark.
Well, you can dare to dream.
So I've come around on this. I have spent much of my blogging career harping on refs, and the best you can hope for is even. It's not the ref's job to make it fair. And they are going to miss stuff. The stuff that really bothers me is, when they look at something and you can tell they see that and choose not to call.
Right.
Or worse than that to me is when they call something that didn't happen.
Right.
That when you can go back to the replay and say, no, that didn't happen. How did you even think that happened? And that kind of stuff does come up. I mean, Wings fan, I can harp on phantom goalie interference calls against Tomas Holmstrom for 2 decades.
That happens to Brendan Gallagher every other game still, right?
And there are things, the refs get wrong. Harping on it doesn't change the game. It does even out mostly over the long term. Obviously, not all calls are created equal. So that's where I throw that mostly in there. To go back to Tomas Holmstrom, you say, oh, they called goalie interference when they couldn't have, so then they gave a power play later that they shouldn't have.
Right.
Well, I want the automatic goal. I don't want the power play. That's not a true evener, but it's what they can do. And also, I don't believe that anybody was evening out Tomas Holmstrom goal interference calls because Dan Gallagher really believed that was happening.
No,
but that's my conspiracy theory.
And I don't think there was any evening out going on last night. I can't explain it, but when I'm watching the ref, there was a blatant high stick where I think Suzuki got clipped, and that was after the Habs had gotten a high stick call. That went uncalled, and then there was a 2-minute.
That's known as the Kerry Fraser call.
The Kerry Fraser. I don't know that.
That's known as the Kerry Fraser non-call.
Kerry Fraser's in another bucket for me right now because of other stuff. But anyways, it just kind of sometimes overshadows the other things that are going on in the game, right? And the Habs just had put on such a dominant performance, and there's so many good things happening for them in that game. The team's going to get dismantled. But I got it. The part of me that wonders about the Leafs is we're coming in on March. This is about the time when the Leafs do what the Leafs do, which is start to slide or start to show, holes in their game. And I mean, Campbell, didn't he get lit up by the St. Louis Blues? And then Mrazek gets lit up by the Montreal Canadiens, who haven't scored more than 2 goals, or I don't know what it is. It's their 3-game winning streak, but they haven't scored a lot of goals, right? So it makes you wonder about the Leafs. And we talked last time, Brian, about the trade. Are they going to make a move? I hear there's interest in Ben Sherratt from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is that going to be more true now that Jake Muzzin might be a little bit hurt? So,
yeah, the D going down, Muzzin going down adds some interesting complexity. Before that, I thought they would have gone after a tough guy, and I still contest that's what they're missing heading into the playoffs or heading into the final quarter of the season. They definitely need to have that a little bit more muscle. They got the finesse down. They had an off game last night. Montreal dominated them, to paraphrase you. I
can't say that a lot this season. So I
know. I'm giving you your little victory here because my team will be playing in April and yours won't. So,
hey, whether you're out in the first round or you don't make the playoffs,
I think they'll be playing in the second round.
You think so? Wow.
I do.
That's a bold prediction. It's almost as good as a prediction I'm hearing online that the Leafs are going to trade Jason Spezza for Ben Sherratt and for Brendan Gallagher and I don't know, a 6th-round pick or something. So I'd love to see the insider scoop.
Arizona.
Oh, we're gonna get to Arizona. Yeah, well, but we'll get to Arizona. But you know what? We should switch over. Olympics. We wanted to talk about the Olympics too. So the Olympics came and went. I think I watched less than 60 minutes of the Olympics. This Olympics. I couldn't get into it. I didn't care. I cared about our Canadian. I cared about the athletes. It's a weird thing. I cared about the athletes. I didn't care about the Olympics. The whole China thing.
I'll tell you what I got into the Olympics. I got into some of the sports, and as a sports fan, I put the politics aside and watch some of the sports because it's nice to see the world competition. But one thing I couldn't get into, the Canadian uniforms. That stuff from Lululemon, what was that? They looked like Michelin men in red. It was crazy.
I didn't even know. That's how much I watched. I didn't even know.
Wacky outfits. Bring back the old Roots reverse cap. I like that look back in the days when Ross Perot was smoking weed and winning snowboard competition.
I was watching in passing. We had the TV on, and I said here at home, I go, why does Canada have so many skiers on that half pipe? I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, they're all wearing the red beanie, like the red. And I said, what's going on with that? And it was just everybody got the same shirt to wear with the Olympic logo. I thought they were all from Canada. I'm like, wow, we got a lot of people doing that half pipe thing going on, right? And everybody's looking at me like that's just the Olympic sweater. I'm like, why can't they wear their own uniform? Like, where happened to the right? So I don't know.
Back to hockey though. Hey, what a surprise! Both Canada and the U.S. out, and the fact, obviously, the fact that the NHL, the star players weren't there, but what an upset for the Slovakian team to beat the U.S. In that shootout, and then lo and behold, Canada goes out, right? So two teams that ordinarily you'd be predicting at least one of them to be in the final, hopefully both of them, because there's nothing better than a Canada-U.S. Olympic gold medal game. So we didn't get that in the men's, but we got it in the women's, and that was a great game. I think that was one of the highlights, the Canadian U.S. women's game. And like anything, thought it was over 3-1, and lo and behold, the U.S. is putting the pressure on, scores with 13 seconds left, and just that little glimmer of hope, but
false hope goal.
The women, they pulled it off.
How about you?
What's that?
The false hope goal there.
False hope.
Yeah, that was a great game. That was the one bit of the Olympics that I watched, and it was. The U.S. women's team has. The U.S. and Canada are always at the top right there right now. We can debate about the rest of the world catching up, and there are a lot of people that want to debate that in really horrible ways, and I don't, so I'm not going to. That's always the U.S. and Canada is always the matchup there, and this was going to be a tough year for the U.S. It was, it's a transition year anyway. They lost a lot of veterans, and it was disappointing to watch. As a fan of the U.S. team, it was disappointing to see the outcome, but not bad. It was a good game, and I hope that there were a lot of lessons there that management especially learned. I've got gripes about shortening the bench so early throughout the whole tournament. But hopefully we had some players there, some of the younger players that learned a bit, and hey, maybe next time things can be different for the US. Whether you guys want it or not.
I think it's going to be a great ongoing rivalry. That's one of the best rivalries going right now, I think.
Yeah, I just absolutely wonder, if the rest of the world's getting tired of it, though. Like,
I'll tell you where the rest of the world is catching up, and that's in curling. Canada usually comes through in curling, and we were texting back and forth during the mixed doubles, which is kind of like the beer pong of curling. Throw your rock and go chase it down the rink by yourself. But Italy wins the gold medal in curling. Now, who would have ever predicted that? That would have been one of those 10,000 to 1 bets that you would have got. That was phenomenal for Italy to pull it off. The girl that was part of that duo just couldn't miss a shot the whole tournament. And then luckily the Canadian men pulled out a bronze, so that we didn't, it wasn't a total skunking, but the Canadian women didn't even make it to the semifinals. So not a very good showing for curling. And Clark, I'm not sure how big curling. Well, that big curling's pretty big in the States. The men's curling guy. He's doing great.
It's big in Minnesota in particular. And yeah, there's been, you can see a lot more interest in it in the last decade or so. So, hey, we'll see. If anything comes from that as far as the future there.
Well, see, the two of you got way more results than I did. I think I picked up more on the political side of it, with the doping thing with the Russian and figure skating there, and just the way that the committee kind of handled that scenario, and in terms of, well, if she wins, there's not going to be a medal presentation. And I'm just scratching my head thinking, well, how about the other two people that might be on the podium with them? Why don't they get the medal present? Why are we catering to the ROC? Why is the ROC even there? Right? Like, what are they doing at these Olympics, given that everything else that's going on? Sure, come on, let's have it in China, and yeah, Russia, come on and show us all of your talent and skill. Guys, I couldn't get it behind it. I feel bad. I was happy that the Canadian athletes that won, and all of the athletes that won. I didn't watch the hockey game. I didn't watch any of the hockey games. I think I saw like 3 minutes of the hockey games. I swear every time that I walked by and someone had the TV on here that was watching the Olympics, that half pipe thing was on, and the jumps all looked the same to me over and over and over. I was like watching it on replay or something, and I hated the half pipe. I think that's what it was, the half pipe ski and snowboarding thing. So I just couldn't get into it. I want to know, I know that there's some folks online, some of the reputable reporters online have been asking, I wonder what the ratings are like. I wonder how low the ratings are for this Olympics, given that everything that was going on. But you know what? Speaking of ratings, here's an interesting thing. Always back to hockey. Here's an interesting thing. The Coyotes are going to play in front of 5,000 fans. Maybe. Sorry, they'll have a 5,000 capacity where 5,000 fans could fit. We don't know if they will fit or go, but Gary Bettman, who was the center of one of my biggest jerks in sports, and one of our For Fans Talk Sports episodes, approved a 5,000 seat NHL, National Hockey League arena for the Coyotes to move into for possibly 3 seasons. Possibly, guys. Is it a bad dream? How is this? We have facilities. Sorry, Clark. We have facilities in Ontario at the OHL level that would exceed it. And thanks for the visual. That would exceed it and probably put on a better show. Why not move them? Or why not move them to Quebec, where they have an NHL ready arena? Clark.
All right. I got words here. Why not move them? And there's a handful of things to look at for that. When the Thrashers relocated to Winnipeg, Gary Bettman, number one villain, went up there and basically said, you'd better sell out or the team won't be able to make it. And when you say won't be able to make it to a fan base that had already lost a team in a country where there have already been a couple of teams lost and the threat of it happening again is ever present, that sounds a lot like we're waiting to take your team from you. And to say that while announcing the relocation, which was a point of celebration for Winnipeg Jets fans, Canada, was a jerk move to go with your top jerks in sports. But it was also a lie. And that's where we get caught up in that lie, because franchises don't move if the owner doesn't want them to move. The original Jets moved because their owners couldn't handle losing money anymore and sold to people who wanted to move them. Same for the Nordiques. The Whalers moved because Peter Carmanos wanted to move them, whether or not he was actually losing in Hartford, which is a whole other thing. But in True North, the Jets now have owners that can ride out financial issues, and they have deeper pockets. They can theoretically not have to be so quick to sell to someone intent on moving the team. So that threat was never based in reality. The current situation in Winnipeg is similar to the situation in Arizona. Alex Murillo does not want to relocate the Coyotes. Under Arizona law, and I've talked about this before, by virtue of owning the Coyotes, he gets to own a presumably profitable sports book, which puts him in a position where he can run the Coyotes as a loss leader. Would he prefer to make money on both the Coyotes and his sports book? Probably, but he's not going to throw away the sportsbook profits just because the hockey team that enables those sportsbook profits has to play in a glorified community rink. So, but that looks bad. Like you said, they're playing in an arena that's smaller than OHL arenas, or they will be. So why doesn't the NHL step in and do something about it? Why doesn't Gary Bettman say no to this? And really, and again, we're back to villain Gary Bettman. And I've said repeatedly, Bettman is the mouthpiece for the rest of the owners. The only thing the league, the owners, Bettman, whatever, can do is force Murillo to sell the team. They can't force him to keep the team but relocate them to Quebec. They can't force him to do anything with them other than sell to somebody who would take them to Quebec, take them to Houston, take them wherever, take them back to Atlanta. No. Well, okay. I shouldn't have said back there because somebody is going to say, "Oh, they were never there in the first."
Right,
no,
right. No, but we get what you
back in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the league step in and force him to sell, and take a look at the history of that across the big leagues. You had the NBA forcing Donald Sterling to sell the Clippers in 2014 due to his racist tirades. You had Frank McCourt of the Dodgers, who was he really forced out, or did he run out of money and the MLB had to step in to stop him from ruining the team? So was that really forced to sell, or did the sale just happen because he ran out of money? Same kind of thing with Marge Schott and the Cincinnati Reds, where she was suspended by baseball when she sold the team. But was she really forced to sell the team? Not really. So when you're talking about forcing an owner to sell their team, that doesn't happen. It happened with racist tirades from Donald Sterling, and before that, you have to go back to like World War II when the economics were completely different, and it might as well be ancient history in these cases. So to be forced to sell, you have to do something so egregious that the other owners agree action has to be taken. And like it or not, sharing an arena with a college team isn't going to make that cut. If that makes the cut, if the NHL forces Murillo to sell for this, then Rocky Wirtz has to be looking over his shoulder wondering if the Kyle Beach cover-up is enough for him to be forced out. And Chris Ilitch has to be looking over his shoulder and wondering whether allowing his arena to be used to detain protesters is a reason to be forced to sell it. And Jeff Molson has to look and say whether drafting a convicted sex offender is enough. And all of these guys have stuff.
We've brought these topics up over and over and over. And obviously, our ethic and moral line is much higher than that of the NHL owners and its leader, Gary Bettman. And I believe that there's fans out there that have that same line where we kind of sit back and go, I love the game, but man, I don't love what's going on here. I don't love all these other ideologies and themes and favors that are going on to sustain these owners and the teams and the sport. I think you nailed it, Clark. I think you nailed it on all points. I have nothing, like I agree with almost everything you just said, like, right?
Except for the part where I said that Bettman wasn't really the villain.
Well, you know what? He is. I get it. And I've said before, you know what? It flows upwards because the owners kind of have to support it. But he's got a voice. And he could listen. This is a guy who wanted to grow the game in the United States of America, who has grown the game in the United States of America, and he had a plan to do that. But
I'm going to disagree with you on every point there.
That he didn't
Southern expansion for the NHL started before Bettman was named commissioner.
Right. But
so that is not his plan. And also it's not about growing the game. It's about getting the bigger TV deal.
Right. So you beat me to, I was going to say
whether or not more people start playing the game because of that. And the NHL does not care. They will make a token effort, sure, but they don't care. They care about their profits.
I was going to say, you beat me to he got the TV deals. And when I say grow the game, he got the TV deals. He made it more commonplace. He did make it more commonplace. I mean, we have the Seattle Kraken are playing hockey. Seattle. I never would think that Seattle would have a team and Quebec doesn't, right? Or anyways, but I think he did nail it. I still think he's still the head. He still has some accountability as the lead. Brian, we got about a minute. What do you have a take on this?
I with respect to the Bettman thing, I think he's I won't say controlled by his owners, but he answers to the owners. That's who gives him the direction, right? So I agree with Clark. You can't pin it on him. He's doing what the rest of the owners want. And I think you made some good points, Clark, about, you know, if you make an example or you do something with one, then the dominoes start to fall. You know, how can you force one to move and then not look at another, right? So I think this is just going to play out, and you'll be seeing the Montreal Canadiens and the Leafs playing in what would be the equivalent of visiting the Peterborough Petes or the Kitchener Rangers or you know, in an OHL size arena with OHL size fan base.
I can't wait. I'm gonna go get a $17 NHL ticket to watch the Arizona Coyotes play against the Montreal Canadiens next season. It's gonna cost me $600 to fly there, but I'll be right up and close.
Your hot dog will be cheap.
I don't know, guys. I have a hard time. Gary Bettman. I have a hard time. NHL, Arizona. What a disaster. That's going to be a wrap, guys. We had a few things we wanted to talk about. We're going to be back. We're going to do this a little bit more frequently. For folks who are listening in, you're going to catch some of this on the Four Fans Talk Sports on the Go On with Guido podcast. And then we're going to have some of these episodes that are just going to be It's Not the Ref on a little bit more frequent interim sort of basis. Whenever some topics come up that we message each other and say, hey, let's talk about it. We thought we would do that. So hopefully everybody's going to enjoy that. And it is the ref, right, Brian?
Never the ref.
It's not the ref. All right. That's Brian. That's Clark. This is Guido. Thanks for tuning in, folks.